Hey friends, grace and peace to you in the name of God our Father and our risen Lord Jesus Christ. Good morning, it's Pastor JC here on this beautiful, hot, and muggy Wednesday morning. And I'm coming to you. I'm risking my life standing by Highway 50, standing next to this sign for Pyoka Camp and Retreat Center. And I'm here for a very specific reason. Does anyone here know what Pyoka means? Some of you who perhaps have been to Pyoka, you know that it stands for Presbyterian Youth Camp. And I come here because this is such an odd name, Pyoka, and yet there's meaning behind the name itself. Well, this week, as we look forward into the life of Moses, we just covered his birth last week, and then this week, we find Moses years and years later, after he flees Egypt because he committed murder and he was fearful of the repercussions. And he goes out into the wilderness. He actually finds a wife. He gets married, has a family. He's out tending sheep. And wouldn't you know it, he's walking along, minding his business. And then he looks over. And as it says here in Exodus chapter 3, verses 1 through 4. Now Moses was keeping the flock of his father-in-law Jethro, the priest of Midian. And he led the flock to the west side of the wilderness and came to Horeb, the mountain of God. And then the angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire out of the midst of a bush. He looked, and behold, the bush was burning, yet it was not consumed. And Moses said, I will turn aside to see this great sight, why the bush is not burned. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to see, God called to him out of the bush, Moses, Moses. And he said, Here I am. Friends, I don't know if you can see here next to me, but some of the foliage here is beginning to turn colors, beginning to turn bright red. In nature, there is such a thing known as the burning bush. And it's a deciduous shrub native to Asia that has become popular for landscapes in North America. The dense, multi-stemmed, rounded shrub gets its common name from its brilliant red fall foliage. Just like the real-life burning bush, glowing red in the fall, Moses came across this bush that was burning, and yet the bush itself was not consumed. And as we will hear in the story from Exodus 3, God speaks to Moses through that bush, calls him out of where he is in the wilderness, and tells him to go back to Egypt in order to free God's people because he has heard their cry and he is going to help them. And then God says something, Moses says, who should I say is sending me? Moses lived at a time with many different gods, and so it's right to understand which God is sending me. And so Moses asked God to tell him his name. And listen to what God says. God says, this is in verse 14. God said to Moses, I am who I am. And he said, say this to the people of Israel, I am sent you.